Greetings, comic friends. Another week, another Wednesday. So it is time for TGIW. Thank God it is Wednesday, where we celebrate everything New Comic Book Day. Well, everything being what I picked up for New Comic Book Day, which obviously is just the best things that came out, right? Or else, if there were better things, I would have got those things instead. But no, I got these things. So second week in a row had not as light as last week. Last week was insane. But this week was a nice small week of really solid stuff. I have a total of 7 books, counting 7 books, and yeah, they were all pretty fantastic. One I'll say I'll start with that one is not quite sure yet, and that is Amazing Spider-Man number 21. So before all like the dark web stuff, we learned that something happened. Something happened such that Mary Jane is off with this other guy and has a couple of kids, and we don't know what. And then dark web happened. We never got resolution. This is coming back, and then we had like that 2-issue story, the last couple issues, as sort of a little break. And now we're coming back to starting the story to tell what happened. So the reason to say I'm kind of on the fence is I don't know enough yet. I will say that I am intrigued. There are some callbacks to older issues. And I want to go back and look at those issues and see exactly what they're referencing. I mean, there's references back to like in the 500s, right? This is what, 915. There's references to like something that happened or is referenced like, hey, this happened in ASM 500 something and whatever. So they're pulling something from the past that maybe never got fully explored or explained, and it's coming up here. So far it's set up, it does like 1 year earlier or a year and a half earlier or something. It doesn't answer any questions yet. I think it's all kind of set up at this point. So jury's out on that. The issue on its own, again, it's hard to say because it doesn't really give anything. It's not bad. It's just it's all set up, and it's hard to call that good or bad. It just kind of is. So time will tell. Moving on, Batman number 133. I'm really digging this storyline. So Batman got zapped into a parallel universe by Toyman, of all people. And this is a universe which did not have a Batman, so bad guys ran amok. And now our Batman is there and is like, well, I'm here. I'm going to clean it up. I'm gonna be the Batman that this place never had. And he runs into all kinds of other people that, he runs into villains and Selina and as this shows, Alfred, to find out what they're kind of doing in this world. There is also a backup story going through this series that takes place back on the DC's normal Earth that has Tim Drake. Well, I shouldn't say that. That takes place on our normal Earth. It's following Tim Drake in his search for what happened to Batman. So it's the Batman story and then like a 6-page backup story in each of these issues. This is the 3rd issue of this arc, and yeah, I really dig it. Mary Jane and Black Cat number 5. I think there's one more issue left in this series. This is fun. It's referencing a bit of what's different in ASM, where Peter and Felicia are dating, but she didn't tell MJ, and she's feeling guilty about it. So it's letting them reconcile whatever that is, sort of as a side story. Probably, actually, as far as ASM story arcs go, the more important part of this. But that aside, it's an interesting girl team up book with demons and stuff. I don't know. It's fun. We're starting a new Predator arc. This was really good, so I don't... You know, usually when one of these Predator stories comes out, I'll kind of give all what happened in that book, or at least a premise. But even that starts to give away too much. The highest level I can get is that it appears that some humans have been dumped on a hunting preserve, and the predators are hunting them. Saying anything else, I think, gives too much away. That being said, I really like it. I'm excited for this story. There is at least... This probably isn't giving too much away. There is a callback to a previous arc. Maybe a couple callbacks. But it's an interesting setup. Fantastic Four #5. So I really liked the last issue. I had some gripes with 1 through 3. They were good. They were great stories. It just didn't feel like a Fantastic Four book. In the previous issue, it was completely heartfelt, great Fantastic Four at its finest. With that out of the way, we are ready to move forward in just having Fantastic Four adventures, which this is. It's bizarre. It's really bizarre, but it stands on its own as its own story, but it's also clearly set up for what is going to be a larger storyline. Some interesting ideas here. Reed gets his chance to be like pinnacle smart guy Reed. I'm really feeling this run of Fantastic Four. This is North, right? Yeah, Ryan North. So far, I think this is great. I'm excited to see where this goes. The thing where it left off here, it could be bad, but it's Fantastic Four. Like it's like universal or at least global threats. Every arc is something like that, so it's no surprise. The Armageddon game, The Alliance. So it is the limited series spawn of the limited series off of the ongoing TMNT book. Some important stuff happens in here as far as the larger story goes, but again, it is getting long in the tooth. I am ready for it to resolve and get done. Pretty much anything that's happened or been involved in the current TMNT book up to this point is in some way involved in this event. So I understand there's a lot of ground to cover, but it is a lot. So here we have April being her reporter self and trying to get some information out to the rest of the city about kind of what she sees going on that the rest of New York is not privy to, or is being lied to about. Does she get that information out? You're gonna have to read it. Lastly, I don't do spoilers here. At least I try not to. Moon Knight #21 continues to be great. We have the newly minted vampire Reese, who has been hanging out with Blade to learn to be a, what does she call it? A responsible vampire. Her and some vampire buddies, including was a soldier who was an ex-Hydra, who is sort of involved now in the Midnight Mission. Like, stuff's been weird and rough lately. Let's go out and have some fun. we're going to go to a club and dancing or whatever. We get a little insight into being a vampire, at least from Reese's perspective. We get some lessons on how to be a responsible vampire. So they're going out, and Soldier also new to being a vampire. She's like, you need to drink this, and like he's like, do you ever get used to it, like the taste, like that? And she's like, no. And he's like, I don't want any more. And she's like, this, you have to drink this. Like, we cannot go around human beings unless we are completely full. Like, I don't care if you don't want it anymore, if you don't feel like it anymore. You have to keep drinking this until you are completely full. Just like we don't want something to happen, which is interesting. It's an interesting take and perspective on that. And these vampires that they've been dealt a bad lot in life, but they don't want to be evil. They're trying to be their best. They go out dancing. Bad stuff happens, as it does, and it looks like we're heading into a new arc, which also may be calling back to something that happened in a previous issue. But it is good. The only other thing that I picked up, the second volume of The Nice House on the Lake came out. I've been waiting for this. This is one that I decided to read in trades, and I'm glad that I did. I had the first one, and I read it. When I picked this one up, and I was going to read it, I was trying to think back to the first volume, and I surprisingly remember quite a bit, at least of the general premise. But I felt that I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't go back and reread it before reading volume 2. So I did. And then I read volume 2. And I'm glad that I did reread volume 1. Because although I did remember a good chunk of it, there's a lot of detail. And I'm sure I would have picked up, if by context what was kind of going on here. But there's a lot of important things to know, like how it got here, with the characters and everything. So I'm glad that I did that. If you're reading this in trade, I might suggest going back and doing that. Or maybe your memory's better than mine. I know mine's awful, especially when I read so much, like stuff gets pushed out. But I am definitely glad that I reread the first one before reading this. Also learning that this is, I don't think this is a spoiler, but this is not the end. I had thought that this was just going to be a 12-issue series and it's done. But it seems that this is a part 1 of a larger story, which I don't know how I feel about that. I really like the idea of this being, and after reading the first volume, I like this could easily wrap up in 12 issues. This could come to some sort of conclusion. I like the idea of that. Of like, look, here's just a good story. Just take it, read it, enjoy it, share it with the world, go back and reread it every once in a while or whatever. It is what it is. Not everything has to be an ongoing, goes on forever. But that's not how capitalism works. I feel that this was fully intended to be a 12-issue one-and-done series. And then it got a lot of good acclaim. So they're like, well, what if you just made it keep going? It definitely could have ended in 12 issues. It totally could have ended in 12 issues. The same thing happened with Something is Killing the Children with Tinian. It was going to be a limited run story done, but it did so well, they're like, well, let's keep going. Let's keep milking the cash cow, which, from a commercial perspective, I understand. Why wouldn't you if you're in the business to make money? I get it. But I don't know. Sometimes, a writer has a story in mind. They want to tell it. Just let them tell it and be done. If things go on for too long, then it kind of sullies I think the original intent and the original story. And I'm afraid that with this book in particular, that a nice, quaint, interesting story idea is going to turn into something, or be not overshadowed, because that presumes that what else is coming is going to be better, but is going to be dimmed by what follows. Is my concern, because I liked it all the way through, really interesting, and I liked it all the way until I saw it wasn't the end. I will see what comes next, because I do kind of want that resolution. But even up to issue 11, I was thinking they're gonna have to do some. They're gonna have to do quite a bit of stuff in issue 12 to get this wrapped up. But I could see a path where it could have been done successfully and satisfactorily, but they didn't. Is it bad? No, it's great. I just, yeah, I wish it would have been done, but I don't always get my way. But that is it. Yeah, in another nice little small week. Let's hope we can keep this up. I think a lot of those Spider-Man minis, some of them, 2, 3 of them or something, are done. The Mary Jane Black Cat is almost done. So hopefully going forward, we've gotten rid of some of the limited series that have been bogging down our pull list, my pull list, our pull list. But that is it. Let me know what you got, what you're excited to read this week. Like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to make yours Titan. This video is brought to you by Titan Comic Pressing. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Titan Comic Pressing LLC.